Welcome to today's presentation on PenTera, automated pen testing and what to learn from it. My name is Jannis. I'm currently heading the sales engineering team in EMEA for Pcysys, based in Hamburg, Germany. I've joined the company about a year and a half ago and have previously spent time in the vulnerability management space and working for other security and network security vendors and companies. The topic is learn how to continuously test your security networks and more. I'll start with a brief introduction of the team. I'll explain what PenTera, the product I will be talking about, is doing in a nutshell. And by doing that, I will also present the life cycle of a penetration test, as any manual pen tester would go through as well. And then I will hopefully have sufficient time to show you a quick live demo of PenTera. So an automated penetration test. This should be very interesting. I would assume you've never seen anything like it. First, let's meet the team. Raul, our regional sales manager for the Iberia region, along with Rodrigo, the sales engineer, and Marta, our SDR. If you want, you can take a screenshot here of the emails. They're looking forward to speaking to you. A brief overview. What is PenTera? It's a piece of software which will agentlessly run on your network. It does not do simulations, but real ethical exploits. So ethical means this is completely harmless. And we'll hopefully see the complete attack operation and how we can visualize it, how we can learn from it. Everything that is found will go automatically into actionable reports as soon as the test is done. No need to wait for those to get generated. And then everything is mapped into the external MITRE attack framework, which allows you to match against your SIM or EDR vendor, for example, and to recognize the different activities. I'll hopefully be able to show you in a second. First of all, what does a typical penetration test look like? Right, and PenTera does think and act like an ethical hacker, but allows you at the same time to increase cadence and to run this fully automatically without needing to monitor the test as it goes. So first, the activity will start with scanning and enumeration, detecting the operating systems. I have a demo prepared running in parallel right now, and we've already done this part. And then there's a vulnerability assessment. So basically, the solution is looking for vulnerabilities, which it will later also try to exploit. All of this will have happened. In parallel, we have sniffing activity, meaning PenTera listens to the network and tries to find credentials on the network, which it will then, first of all, try to crack, see if it can get to the clear text password, but it will also try to relay these sniffed credentials, meaning it does not even need to crack them for this. It will just basically copy them to another host and thereby try to get the door open. And then it will also try to execute code remotely, meaning it will send code for authentication against the host. It will collect information, which should be super interesting. I'm hoping I can show you this in a second. And lateral movement, the next stage, is then logging into different hosts on the same network, basically spreading the attack across the network. While privilege escalation, I like the icon of the elevator, refers to becoming from a standard default user to an admin, a privileged user, or root, whatever you like. And then data exfiltration is obviously part of this, right? Proving that the attacker could steal information, and afterwards everything is cleaned up as it was before. Network connections are reset. all files are deleted, and we are clean again. Okay, so now we are ready to see PenTera in action, see an actual automated penetration test live. And I'm switching to my browser here. I have, as I said, prepared an activity for us. I'm not going to run through how I configured this, but just to show you what I have done. We have in our lab environment already discovered a couple of devices. They're nice and color-coded as they were found to be different operating system versions, and they're already color-coded based on the vulnerabilities which we found on the host, right? So this is like, we're 20 minutes in. This has happened just to conserve some time. And you can see here, this gray box, this is how they all looked in the beginning. And now the machine already had a couple of activities without us watching. And there is a data extraction running. But the point that I wanted to show you is that we have these so-called actions here waiting for us. For example, file-less credential extraction. So I can granularly, per host, approve an activity. And I'm just going to do that and see what kind of credentials we can extract from this host. But I can also simply go to the All Approvals button and filter for a specific activity, for example. Let's use remote code execution, for example, and approve those. I'm gonna do it now. Okay. And what we just saw was a red box popping up, which was an indicator that we had already had some successful exploits just now as I approved them. And I can see here the 9.3, we have a successful exploitation of the MS1710 vulnerability. This is quite an easy find. You can see a very nice attack vector or kill chain, if you like, right? So this is what PenTera will show you on every single so-called achievement. This is a success of the penetration test per se. And you can see up here, it starts with 3 vulnerabilities. They're color-coded, indicated by the broken shield, if you will. And then resulting on the vulnerability are the achievements, the penetration test success. So this network was vulnerable for sniffing attacks, and therefore we did have a 5.5 same value success of sniffing the credentials. You can see it here. The type was NTLM, and this was used for a relay using the LDAP protocol. And I can click this box again, and I can see that I was able to create a computer account. So now PenTera is able to log in. Even though PenTera created this computer account, it still validated this account to double check that it was safe to use. And then we saw, based on being able to log in, PenTera found a vulnerability, which it then again successfully exploited. Now, this is an interesting vector. I'll click the root again. We can simulate that by remediating this one specific vulnerability all the way at the top. This is exactly how to mitigate the whole vector. None of these achievements would be able to happen if this network would no longer be vulnerable to sniffing. So what is the whole secret behind this sniffing story? And we can click here for detailed remediation. So what it tells me here is that with the LLMNR, NBNS, MDNS, this is a bunch of multicast protocols which are causing the sniffing incident. And this is all explained in full detail and explained with a nice picture. I'm not going to go into details, but the first paragraph is explaining what's happening here. The second paragraph is explaining how to get rid of the, for example, link local multicast name resolution protocol. This is supported by screenshots. Same for the next protocol, and there's more. And this is really the point. I mean, automation is always about saving money, saving time. But here, PenTera is handing the IT, the operations team, the support or hotlines team, the tools to remediate, to fix all these problems without having to hire expensive external specialists, right? So this is another step where this can really help upgrade security. And the last but not least point that I want to highlight in the remediation wiki, this is what this is called, is how to use PenTera for validation. Now that the, let's say, operations team has come back and said they fixed all the suggested multicast protocols, now we can immediately validate that this was actually successful across the whole domain, and we can continuously monitor this for the future if any protocols are installed by, for example, the MDNS can be installed by locally installing iTunes or Skype, which could be in these times could be a tool that somebody would install locally. Just to pass the time or to be able to communicate with colleagues, for example. So this could reintroduce such multicast protocols. And this is exactly how this helps, gives you the whole background information. And we can see there's a whole library of these articles on specific topics and so on. All right, back to the machine. And I'm going to go one step up, the 9.4. This is exactly the same vector that we just saw, just 2 more steps, successfully exploiting this vulnerability, and has allowed us to open a session. And then the 9.4 is the highest achievement. PenTera was able to gather valuable information from host. What does that mean? It means we extracted a support account with its NTLM hashed passwords, a guest account, and a user called administrator. And you can all guess that this will be very, very helpful in progressing the attack. Now PenTera can log in with a username that is administrator, which will further progress the attack. Wonderful. Okay. And I am very far from approving all of the actions that are waiting for me. I'm just going to give you a brief indication. File-less credential extraction is what I allowed. Credential extraction from memory, registry, credential extraction, detection of installed antivirus products. This is not part of the attack per se, but it's more like a reconnaissance task, same as build host profile, enumerating installed Microsoft patches, understanding all the network interfaces, which would allow to pivot from, let's say, the cable interface of a laptop onto the Wi-Fi network. And then the last one, as an example, this is not a complete list. This is always based on progress. Brute force the local admin, which is another activity PenTera could do safely. And you can see there's a lot of exploitation going on. There's now DLL payloads that are being executed towards host. You can see the IP addresses of the hosts here. So this is now challenging the antivirus. Does it detect our activity? Super interesting test. And all of this activity is going to be matched towards the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So this is something I mentioned before. This framework does show the, sorry, I'm missing the word here, the tactics above, where you can see reconnaissance, initial access, execution, and then the used techniques below, which would be exploitation for client execution mitigation, for example, PowerShell. And then this is, again, color-coded based on the activity that we had in this test. If we go back to this, and we have multiple of the wonderful 9.4s now, I'm going to just pick one and we can see the vector has become way more complex. We need to zoom in, and you can see tiny numbers. I'm going to zoom in a bit more so you can see it well. See tiny numbers in between these achievements. And if I click here, we can see the adversary level, which in this case is 4. Doesn't mean a cyber terrorist attacked me. Can go from script kiddie to state influenced. But it means that this kind of technology has been seen by malware like WannaCry, Emotet, but also a threat group, which would then be considered a cyber terrorist. NotPetya, Dragonfly 2.0 are some of these malwares, which then again allows you to match these activities to your threat intel team, or understand better how to how your risk can be considered here. Okay, I could obviously talk for forever about this topic, but I want to come back here and show you there's so much more and many achievements that I haven't had time to explain. We're obviously happy to follow up if you're interested to see this on your own network at some point. But what I would like to run by you quickly, let's see if I can need to move my browser from full screen. 1 second. And here we go. I have already prepared for us a report like it would be created once this scan has stopped. And there are a couple of things I want to highlight. Obviously, this is it's called executive report. This is for the management, right? This is not the full technical report, which we also have. This is just the 2-pager highlight, very short version of our findings. And the first thing that we see is a score. So in one word, basically, how did the security do on the tested network? But much more interesting, I think, even than the score of today is the historic trend, because now we can see how we did over time. And this is super interesting because this finally allows us to, with the glance of an eye, without understanding a single technical word, to see that we're on the right track here. Maybe there was a dip, and we can, as a manager, we can challenge the team. What happened? Maybe a system was restored from backup, and previously fixed vulnerabilities had been reintroduced, basically. Or we spun up a new network, or PenTera got new updates, and then we recovered from it, right? We see more statistics, and we see our resilience scorecard. This again allows us to show how PenTera did in the different areas. How did we do for privileged users, sniffing, password strength, and if you think further ahead, this score will obviously get better over time as remediation attempts, as improvements are achieved on the network. This would then allow even for prioritization of investments on your own security budget. Last but not least, and this is something I really like, rather than sending, I don't know, 10,000 found vulnerabilities, this just gives us the top 3 actions. And this is the horrible vulnerability from last summer, zero logon. This is one of the vulnerabilities we briefly saw just now, the 1710. This allowed for the data extraction. You will also maybe recognize this number as related, or the logo name for this is Eternal Blue. And this is the vulnerability that WannaCry exploited back in the day. But the last point I want to highlight is PenTera says the antivirus did not block all the malicious payloads. So this is key for me, because now this allows for validation of the antivirus. Right, you can see that this was possible, the attack was possible, and the antivirus did not block all of the activity on the network. And with that, I thank you for your time and for your attention, and have a great day at IDC.